Well, I must say, this is different. We've been sitting here for over 30 days, jacks down, and so I happened, my neighbor, RV neighbor, was sitting here at the picnic table, and he happened to look down. He was at the right angle, and he said, "Something don't look right. You might want to look at this." And so I looked under here. I noticed I got a missing foot and a missing spring. So somewhere between Kentucky and Orlando, Florida, there's a foot and a spring on Interstate 75. So that's kind of the start of the predicament. So I got one spring still left, and the jack is down. Of course, so now the jack's not going to come up. You can see how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to have a foot and two springs. And see, these jacks they only go one direction. The hydraulic pressure pushes them down. You rely on the springs to bring them back up. So I'm going, now I got to do some troubleshooting on how to get this jack up. And I went ahead and ordered a replacement foot and spring. I got that here. So seeing we've been sitting here for a while, see, I'll show you. You see all this crud and stuff that builds up on these things, and if you feel it, you feel all the grit and sand. So where those have been extended for any length of time, I'll get in here with a soft cloth and wipe them down really good, like get them nice and clean before I retract them. Because if you've been parked somewhere, all that dirt and grit just gets jammed right up into the packing of the seal. And I would imagine that it's going to shorten the life of the cylinder. And this is a 2005, and they're still working fine. But then let me go up here and show you what I got. So after I found that, I went online. There's a place in Kentucky. Where's it at? It's in East Burnside. Vision Auto Mart and RVs. Vision One. And anyway, I picked up. They got a lot of used parts. They deal with a lot of RVs that's been in wrecks, fires, or whatever. So instead of spending, I think through HWH, it was going to be a foot and a spring kit. Was going to cost me probably over $100. I got this delivered for $36, a spring and a foot. So keeping that in mind, if you ever want to save some money on, when a used part will work just fine. So here's what I got. I actually ended up getting two springs. I only needed one, but anyway, I'll have a spare now. And then I got a good used foot. And you can see all the wood in here. I do this to get the springs back on. I've been down this road before, putting springs on. And you just bend the spring double, open up the coils, stick these pieces of wood in there, and by doing that, it actually gets longer. And let me show you the difference. Okay, here's the spring. By sticking these pieces of wood in here, that's added a good inch length to it. So that should be enough for me to get it stretched down and get the foot over the jack, get that done. So we got that part done. So now I've got I got my manual here, HWH manual, service manual, and I had to figure out which jack is controlled by which solenoid. The way these operate, when you hit your store button on your jacks, you got 4 solenoids that engage, and they pull back. They're just like a giant magnet. It pulls back, takes these little needles off their seat, and allows the fluid to flow back into the tank as the springs push up on those jacks. Of course, 3 of them is going to retract just fine, but I'm going to have this one here. It's just going to stay down because there's no springs on it. And you have to be careful. You don't want to leave those open too long, or you burn up your solenoids. I think they like 7 minutes or so. You don't want them open, or they'll overheat. So anyway, my next step, I'm going to wipe down all the jacks, get them nice and shiny, put them in the store position, get at least 3 of them retracted, and then once I get the 3 retracted, I'll crawl underneath the RV and locate this solenoid right here, right rear, and I can manually release the pressure off of it. So then I can hopefully get me something under here and slowly prise it up, jack it up. Don't know what I'm going to get into, but that's my strategy anyway. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, so that lovely bonging sound telling me the jacks are down. Turn on the HWH system and hit store. And the RV starts to drop. Yeah, the springs are pulling the jacks up. And let's go back into the back. See what's going to take place. Okay, yeah, so that one's coming up. Of course, that one is not. That's going to be my problem child right there. Keep those up. And as long as one jack is down, that thing will still bong and set off that alarm. And if you own this type of system, if you ever hear that banging and bonging, that's telling you that the solenoid is still engaged. And if it does that for more than 8-10 minutes, you're liable to burn out a solenoid. So if you can't get your jacks all the way up, you need to find the problem, get it solved. So let's see what we're doing over here. Okay, see, all the jacks are up. All three are all the way up except for the one. And it's still a bonging. And it says I got the one red light telling me the one jack is down. So when you call onto the RV, there's these solenoids. Right there they are. You can see one of them, and there's 4 of them, one for each jack. And these solenoids get engaged, electromagnets I guess they're called, and they get hot if you keep them engaged for too long, and they'll burn themselves out. And when that happens, they're about $150 a piece. So you want to avoid that. So I'm gonna go up there and turn off the power. So then I'll manually release the solenoid. So let's get that done. Okay, so I've turned off the key. Alright, and I've turned the power off to everything. So now the solenoids are no longer energized. So I won't risk burning up the solenoid. So now you just got to get in there and figure out how to release that particular one. Okay, I was going to show you these solenoids. So, like see these lower solenoids, there's 3. That controls the room slides, these ones on the bottom. And then on the top, we got 4 that control the jacks, the leveling jacks. And it's you can see the last one, I've got the lever tripped. Now on some of your older ones, they don't have this lever, they have a nut on top. And your oil field, right down in here somewhere, yeah, I think I got my finger on it right in here. If you take your oil field cap off, inside the center of your oil field cap is actually a nut driver. And you can fit that on the end and release them. Actually, there it is, that little bead nut. On the older style, they got a little bead nut that you unscrew, and that releases the pressure. Or maybe you screw it in, I can't remember which way it is. But that trips the pressure manually if you have to manually bring a room in. But with using ratchet straps or pushing, there's a couple different procedures to do if you got a room that's stuck out and won't come in. So it's a good idea to read up on all your repair manuals so you know what to do in a situation like this. So now I'm gonna see if I can't get the jack to come up. So as you can see, it's still down. All right. Okay, we're back in the back, and remember I got the solenoid tripped up front. So now the fluid has somewhere to go. As I prise up on the jack, it will flow back into the reservoir tank. And of course, when you're on the road, you're limited on tool choices. So I've got the toolbox. I found this little pry bar, and I noticed I can get under here, and you put a little pressure. It will slowly come up. Not real fast, but it's coming up. So I can do this, and I get me some of those old plastic blocks. And once I get it up high enough, I got the jack out of the car. I'll get it under here, then I can finish pushing it all the way up to the top, and then hopefully get my springs put on. So that's the plan. So I was thinking, Lloyd must have had a 2x4. I didn't have a 2x4, but I do have this scrubbing pole that I made. I use this to scrub the roof of the RV. This material here is what you put in your gutters. Found this at Lowe's. It's kind of like makes a great scrub brush for the top of the roof, get all the crud and grime on it. And this is just a drywall sanding pole, but it's strong. So I'm using that to prise up on the cylinder. So that's working pretty good. So I'll keep adding levelers and keep prying until I get it to the top. This trick is actually working out better than the jack. I didn't have to use a jack. So I just got it. So now it's all the way up. Now I just got to get the springs on. Also, don't forget to trip your lever. Alright, now it will be back operational. So now we can, we'll have pressure on that jack. Yeah, if you don't do that, that jack's not going to come back up. Anyhow, we're just going to show you. Okay, I got it hooked up here. Now about that, but you can see by adding these pieces of wood to the spring how much easier it makes it. Otherwise, you have to try to fight those two big springs to get it on. And so with putting that in there, I should just be able to slide it on. Okay, now she's in place. And now when I level up the RV, when I put this foot all the way down, all these little wood pieces should fall out, or I can easily pull them out. So now let's go back to living in the RV and see if we can wrap this job. All the jacks are down, everything is level. That's what I call more better. And I was also going to let you know that on the paint sticks, now these are the heavy, thick paint sticks, and this would be a good thing to add to your RV toolbox. A couple of these, 2 or 3 of these paint sticks, like for a 5-gallon bucket. And that way you can cut them up if you need to ever do this. And then just pull them out when after you get the jacks, the springs that get pulled out. So, works pretty good. Alrighty. Another RV repair completed. I'm certain it won't be the last. You guys have a great day.